What makes a perfect final episode? Well, I suppose the answer varies depending on the show and what's happened throughout that show's run. I think what the fans of any show look for in its series finale is for it to give them three things: to answer any unanswered questions which may have been left open during the series, tying up any loose ends, to give the audience a feeling that the show is reaching its natural end and that it's time to say goodbye, and finally to give the audience a glimpse into the future of the show's characters and what life holds in store for them. So let's take a look at why I believe that King of the Hill managed to do all of these things and give us a perfect ending. After Fox had announced the show's cancellation, they decided in the summer of 2009 that the show would finish with a 1-hour series finale consisting of two 30-minute episodes. These final two episodes would be The Boy Can't Help It, followed by To Sirloin with Love, and would air Sunday 13th of September. In The Boy Can't Help It, Bobby becomes a target of some older girls who see him as their latest project, christening him their Bobby Bear and giving him a makeover, while Bobby mistakenly thinks he's got himself 3 older girlfriends. This irks Hank, who can't stand to see Bobby losing his dignity, and the episode finishes with a nice scene where Bobby, despite having been humiliated by the girls, stands up to protect them from some unwanted attention, with an impressed Hank looking on. It's a great moment to see Hank, who seems to have spent the entire run of the series worrying that Bobby just ain't right, showing real pride as he watches Bobby doing the right thing. And it feels like we're watching Bobby mature from a boy into a young man when he turns down Hank's offer to step in and deals with the situation himself. The ending leads nicely into the final episode, where the plot will again focus on Hank and Bobby's relationship. And this is the first example for me of how King of the Hill managed to get their final episode just right. Because if there's one theme which ran throughout the course of the show, prevalent in just about every episode, it was the difficult father-son relationship between Hank and Bobby. Now, there were two things about Hank and Bobby's relationship which were always made clear from the start of the show: that Hank was deep down incredibly proud of his son, and that him and Peggy cherished their only child, who was something of a miracle baby on account of Hank's narrow urethra, and that Bobby really looked up to his dad, whom he often tried so hard to impress. However, their relationship was always an awkward one, with football and DIY loving Hank appearing to find it difficult to relate to his son, whose interests were prop comedy and entertainment. In the background to Hank's relationship with his son was his relationship with his own father, the emotionally abusive Cotton. You always felt that Hank's attempts to understand his son were influenced by the lack of love and understanding he was shown by Cotton, who would try to put him down at every opportunity, constantly reminding him that he was a disappointment to him, and even going as far as to name his newborn son GH, short for Good Hank. I always found it ironic that while Cotton looked down on his more traditional, if you like man's son Hank, he adored his grandson Bobby, despite all the funny dancing and prop comedy. While throughout the show's run, there were moments where Hank and Bobby would be on the same page, often with Hank passing on good fatherly advice to Bobby, you always wondered as an audience how their relationship would develop as the preteen Bobby grew to be a man, and the writers would look to address this in To Sirloin with Love. The elephant in the room gets brought up in the episode's opening scene when Peggy informs Hank that she'll be spending the evening at Min's house playing Scrabble, and Hank worries that an evening of just him and Bobby alone will be awkward. And it's a funny scene with Hank contemplating their evening together while Bobby acts weird in the background. Hank opts instead to go out to a busy restaurant and reduce the amount of awkward silences. And during dinner, Bobby, after being overheard discussing the quality of his steak, is offered a place on the Heimlich County Junior College Meat Examination Team. Try saying that in a hurry. It's a nice touch when Bobby asks Hank if he can join the team, and Hank replies,
"I have been waiting 13 years for you to ask that. Absolutely."
Bobby might not be joining the football team, and Hank might not be showing a newfound enthusiasm for prop comedy. But the two have found a common ground in meat enthusiasm. It might seem like a silly premise, but it's touching when we see flashbacks of a young Bobby being educated in cuts of beef by Hank. For me, the best line in the episode is when Peggy explains to Bobby that for Hank it's not about being on a team or even about beef, it's about him and Bobby finally having something in common. It brings us back to the point at the beginning of the video about how a final episode should give us a glimpse into the future of the show's characters. While we might have wondered what the relationship between the two Hill men would have looked like in the future, we now know that any of them awkward silences will just be filled with a conversation about Bobby's meat examination days. Hank also references this earlier in the episode when he says,
Yep, my son is going to state. Bobby and I will have stuff to talk about for the rest of our lives.
Again, it might feel like a silly premise, but there's something heartwarming about knowing that Hank and Bobby will always have this shared interest to bond over. And we get a visual of this in the final scene, where Hank and Bobby are on the patio, stood over their grills with beef sizzling and a content Peggy looking on as her two men bond. This final scene is also used to address a number of the show's other characters, answering one of the show's longest running questions and giving us a glimpse into how the future looks for the residents of Rainey Street. As the steaks cook, we see each of the neighbours getting a whiff of the meat and decide to head over to mooch some barbecue. At the Super Newsom Pones, we see Khan tell Connie to take a night off from her homework. He's always been so strict with her, and it's nice to think that he might be a bit more relaxed as she grows older. At the Gribbles, we see Dale giving Nancy a head massage, and she comments that her headache is feeling much better. Nancy had of course spent years visiting John Redcorn to have her headaches cured, as well as carrying out a 14-year affair with Redcorn. And we get the sense that Nancy is finally completely satisfied in her marriage to Dale. And we see Luann and Lucky playing with baby Gracie, the picture of a happy family, despite both having come from troubled pasts. One of the longest running unanswered questions in King of the Hill was what exactly Boomhauer done for a living. As he heads for the Hill's house, his wallet falls from his pocket, revealing that he's a Texas Ranger. This might explain why Boomhauer's always been that little bit mysterious. And one of the gang being a Texas Ranger might also explain how they managed to get out of so many compromising situations over the years. Now, I've read that there was a scene cut here which showed Bill deciding to throw the piece of wedding cake he had been saving from his and Lenore's wedding into the bin, showing that he was finally ready to move on with his life. It would have been a great way to show that Bill had a chance of happiness in the future, and I think it's disappointing that it was cut, as it wouldn't have taken any more than a few seconds of screen time. I mean, poor old Bill. And so the show's final lines are left to Hank and Bobby to bid us farewell from Ireland, when Hank tells Bobby,
Oh, you're just getting started, Bobby. You'll be grilling your whole life.
Just like you.
Yep.
Yep.
I think it's fitting that the show's last lines are Hank and Bobby in a touching father and son moment, and Bobby's first yep, the last word of dialogue, showing us that he's following in his father's footsteps. I love how they managed to bookend the very first scene of episode 1 with this final scene. That first scene opens with a shot of the Ireland Water Tower, and we tilt down through the neighbourhood to finish at the Hills driveway on Rainey Street. And 13 years later, we leave the same way. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and if you enjoyed the video then please hit the subscribe button below. This channel is new, but I'm hoping to upload a new video every Friday discussing all things film and television. If there's anything you would like to see discussed or want to add anything about this video, then let me know in the comment section below.